through the halls like the chime in the old school building that still runs on a 3.5-inch floppy drive. It's DIA, or Dudes in Asia. What up, Dude-Maniacs? As always, this is David Hayter.
And this is David Nguyen, aka Hot Sauce Noogie.
For episode 33, we're going to talk about teaching English in Asia.
3.5-inch floppy drive.
It is very true, man. I got a picture of it.
I remember that the longest time, man.
I seen it, man. They got a brand new computer with the USB floppy drive. I'm like, huh?
For real?
Yep.
How big were those? Like a megabyte or something?
I think so. Maybe 2, man.
Maybe 2.
It held a lot.
What's good with you, man?
It's good, man. I'll go first.
Yeah, you go
man.
first, man.
All right, dude. Yeah, things are cool, man. You know, getting back to the grind. Like, as of May 12th, I'll have 2 months left before the end of my work contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said before, too, there won't be, like, any more holidays between now and then. So, it's pretty much kind of crunch time, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. Like, the next couple months are just going to be, like, basically getting rid of all the crap in my apartment. And then, like, just kicking it with a lot of people.
Yep.
Try not to drink too much beer, you know?
Try not to. Right? Can't promise to try,
Yeah.
but you'll try to try.
Yeah, the thing is, I just have to, like, space it out, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not, like, you know, doing it all in, like, one weekend, you know? Like, okay, kick it with this person this week. Next week, kick it with this person. Next week, kick it with this person. You know, I got to do some planning, you know? Yeah. It'll be good times, man.
Yeah. It'll be that was a work stretch and, like, just a chilling stretch for you.
Yeah. But, you know, it's like, I've worked pretty hard out here. You know, I've got, like, a little money saved up. Like, worst comes to worst, if I got to hire somebody to clean my apartment, like, I'll throw a couple hundo on it, you know?
So it'll be a good investment, man. Just like, no, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, I'll still handle mine, so, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, how about you, dog? Anything new happening with you?
Grace's birthday was this past Saturday, so it was cool.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, so it was cool. Just, we went to, like, a Chinese restaurant. Like, it was, like, 25 people showed up. Mostly, like, my father-in-law friends. But yeah, it was, you know, nice. Good food, good times. I think at that moment I realized that Grace is, like, sensitive emotionally.
No.
Yeah.
How so, man?
It's just like, so one day, like, while she was, like, feeding, she accidentally, like, bit my wife's nipple, and, like, my wife, like, kind of screamed. And that kind of, like, freaked out Grace and made her cry, like, almost, like, uncontrollably. But also, like, later that day, she, like, biffed it off the bed and banged her head with, like, a minor bruise.
Ooh.
Didn't cry nowhere near that level, right? So that's, like, one sign.
I see.
And then for dinner at that on her birthday, I was holding her, and then my uncle wanted to hold her. And then she was kind of like, no. So I kind of, like, held her back, and then she started, like, kind of crying, and she, like, shoved her face into my chest, and I started just laughing, and then she started crying uncontrollably. Like, I guess I kind of, like, hurt her emotions or something. I was like, what happened, Grace? Why are you, like, you know? She was crying so hard as if, like, someone freaking, like, hit her or something, dude.
Wow, man.
So to me,
crazy.
It's like, okay, she's sensitive emotionally. Like, physically, she can handle a beating. Like, emotional wise, I gotta figure out how to deal with that.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's girls, man.
That sounds like a whole new set of challenges.
It is,
man.
dude. I was just like, whoa, it caught me off guard because it's like, it was cute because she was just, like, rubbing her face on my chest. Then I started laughing, and then she just, like, cried. I think she kind of knew that I was, like, laughing at her. You know?
Oh,
so then she started crying uncontrollably. It's like, whoa, what happened? And everyone's like, what'd you do to her? It's like, I just started laughing. Like, I didn't do anything, like, physically. I just made her probably feel embarrassed emotionally or something.
See, like, what you did is when you're holding her, like, you put your nose, like, in her ear and was like, yeah, that's right. Nobody wants to hold you anyway. So, how we feeling, man? Talk about some English teaching.
Let's do it, man. It's gonna be a refresher from 4 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, a lot of people when they first want to start traveling, like teaching English is one of the easiest ways to start.
Yes, hands down. Hands down.
Yeah, and a lot of people want to come to Asia, because it's pretty in demand.
Yep.
But I'm going to go through a bunch of jobs here, and most of these require like a bachelor's degree. Some you need a TEFL. It really depends on the country,
Correct.
Yeah, but first they kind of have like the big national programs. So like for Japan, that would be like the JET program, which hires from all over the world. If you're a native English speaker, I think it's like if you had 12 years of education in English, I think that's the requirement.
12?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. So like I've known some people that have done JET and like they were born like in Taiwan. Like they weren't born in America, But then like they went to like a lot of, I don't know, I guess they just had enough English education and like with college and stuff it all added up.
Yeah.
I believe it's 12. I'm not 100%. Yeah. And then there's the other one in Korea. It's called like Talk. I think it's like Teach and Learn Korea. That's like a newer one that a lot of people are doing.
Is that the one Dante's doing? No.
I don't know if he's doing that. I think he's just working for a company.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about too. It's kind of like the direct hire approach, Because the one I'm doing right now is a direct hire, like through a sister city kind of thing. Yeah. And then if it's not that, then usually it's kind of like you're directly hired by, like not like a board of education or a school district, but by a private like English school.
Yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, and yours is like the after school special,
yeah, the
right?
after school special, man.
But then you're actually sent out to schools though, or was it like in an office?
No, I was like in the schools. I mean, the office was the school too,
I see. For sure, man. Yeah. So in Japan, that would be kind of like your eikaiwa, which they call like English conversation school. So like you'll probably work somewhere from like 2 p.m. to like 10 p.m. and like you can teach like any age of student,
Jeez,
like
2 to 10?
Yeah, like usually like at night, in the yeah.
For Vietnam, the English, like if it's the after school special, which I do, is always like 6 to 9 on weekdays, and then pretty much the possibility of all day on the weekends. But I only did like the morning shift and the night shift. I didn't do afternoon shifts.
Okay. Yeah, and then like what Dante was doing, I think he's working at, is it like a kindergarten? There's like some younger kids, you know what I mean? And they have a lot of that in Japan too, which like it pays pretty well, man, but it takes a lot of energy, man. Like we teach in my job, we teach kindergarten like 3 times a year for like 2 or 3 days at a time, man. After 2 to 3 days of like chasing around them rugrats, man, like you done.
I didn't teach like kids until maybe like at least like 8 months into teaching, or maybe 6. But for the first couple of times, like for first months, I was just like, no, I refuse to teach kids. But then when I kind of, needed more hours and more money, I was like, all right, man, throw me the kids. And I remember, dude. So the first day I had kids, they're probably like 5, anywhere from like 5 to 7. And like, I remember pretty much in the first like 2 minutes, I kind of like raised my voice. Like really loud, not yell, but just like at least raise my voice, and they're all just like, "Oh snaps!" Like they kind of froze, and I kind of saw like that shock factor, right? I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm sorry." Boom! Lost control of the crowd. Oh, this teacher apologized. Oh, dude. Next thing you know, they're like climbing my back, like poking my stomach, running around in circles. I was like, "Oops, shouldn't apologize." I lost control of the classroom ever since. Dude. So, and after that, eventually, I just knew how to bribe them. It's like, all right, get this job done. Here's some candy, or here's some like cartoons to watch. That's how I handle kids. Yeah. What about you, man?
For sure, man. It wasn't too bad, man. Like when I first got here, we taught elementary school and junior high school, and in elementary school, I would teach. Like in my second year, I taught every grade. Basically like 1st grade to 9th grade. In my first year, I taught like 4th grade, 6th grade, and 1st grade. And I don't know, it's a little different because you're there working with the teacher.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the teacher's like, sit down, stop talking.
Yeah.
Like, they're like super strict.
Yeah.
And other times the teacher's just like, I can't do anything. Like, yeah. So
But
I've kind of dealt with a lot of stuff.
But
yeah.
the only so the environment you taught in, like, kids had to learn English, right? It wasn't like, so like my experience was like, this is optional, like this is after school special. So, for me, like, I didn't feel completely obligated to kind of force the issue. It's like, you guys have been in school all day as it is, and then you got to cram another hour and a half with me, and like I can tell you're already like mentally burnt out, So I was always more loose unless I saw the kid was like really on it. Then I would like pull him aside, or pull at least like the couple of kids I saw was like really trying to learn aside, and work with them. And the other kids who just knew, like, the parents forced them to be there. It's like, dude, you guys could play as long as you guys kind of do the basic homework, and then you guys could watch cartoons or whatever. But the kids who wanted to learn, I gave them extra time, because it's difficult when they just like, it's optional. Like, they don't want to be there, especially already when their brains already fried from the whole day.
Yeah, well, like, even when it's mandatory, like, they don't want to be there.
That's true.
What I mean?
That's true too.
And so, yeah, that's why sometimes in my classes, like, you'll see a kid like studying science. I'm just like, hey, how's it going? It's like, all right. I'm like, so it's science time, huh? I was like, yeah. Like, you understand any of this stuff we're teaching right now? He's like, yeah, I think I got it. I'm like, all right, cool, bro. You better get a good grade on that science test.
That's a good way to do it, bro. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, man, like, these kids got their own, like, lives and stress and stuff. I'm just like, man, maybe you know something I don't, man. Maybe you really do need to study science more than English. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't gonna be mad at you. Like, you're not being loud. You're not, like, talking shit.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. But, yeah, it's not too bad, man. Mm-hmm. But I've seen some other jobs out there, too, though. That are kind of, like, I think really different from what we've done. Like, they have some positions you can get that are, like, doing corporate training.
Yeah. Actually, I know someone that does that. Yeah. They go to, like, help, like, corporate businesses, like, improve their English, like, business English and things like that.
Yeah. This one guy I know in Nagoya has his own company, and they can do that. And a lot of it, too, is, like, maybe they have, like, a business trip coming up, and they're going to, like, Texas.
Yeah.
Need somebody to teach them how to speak English. And then, like, they'll even teach them, like, some of the slang, like, from Texas, like, howdy, like, y'all.
Yeah,
like,
y'all.
you know what I mean? Yeah, like, it's different English all over the world,
Yeah.
Especially Texas. But, yeah. Darn tootin'. I don't know if that's Texas or not.
That might be more like the 30s or something.
Yes. And then I've seen some other positions for, like, international school, but I think, like, for those you need, like, a teaching credential. It's like you're not like an assistant teacher. It's not like after school. Like, you are the main English teacher. And yeah, I think, I'm not sure how demanding that can be. It probably depends on the school. Yeah. And then
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You gonna say something?
I was gonna say,
okay.
You go first. You can finish your
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I was just gonna talk about the last type of job is like a university job. Usually for those, you need a master's degree, and it's like more focused on like writing and stuff. I guess depending on the school. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it.
I was gonna say, it's like in Vietnam, dude. I don't think it's, maybe unless you're like really involved with the government. That's sketchy. Like how much like accreditation you need. Because I know people who are just like they're just like a basketball coach, and that was nothing. Like, coaching was their major, and like English teaching was nowhere near on the radar. But they were teaching in like public schools, So like I don't think there's any like major roadblocks. Because like the thing about Vietnam, from what I noticed, is they could easily swindle you. So if you try to trick them, they also try to take advantage of you to begin with anyway. So it's like both sides are playing each other. Because my friend was clearly not like a teacher at all, but just because she was black and she was America, like they just hired her. But even though they kind of treated her kind of shady as well too, So and that's just the way Vietnamese are. So it's like image is everything. As long as you look like you're a foreigner and they think you could teach English, they're just gonna hire you, even with probably without regards of your background.
Yeah. Well, see, if you want to spin this in a positive way, it's called a flexible business environment. uh, but yeah, it's true, man. And like, I don't know. I guess it's like kind of like those barriers to being hired. Like, I know in Japan, like when I applied for my job, like they want a copy of like your diploma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They want a copy of any certificates you have and all that. But I don't know, man. I guess it just depends on how strict each place is, you know.
The Vietnamese people are still like, I don't know. It's just they don't really care. They think about really more like the short term solution. They're like nearsightedness in terms of like a lot of things. So they just let it fly and kind of deal with it later instead of actually like putting in the work up front to make sure it's a long term play.
Yeah, well, like even thinking about it though too, like someone who is like a native English speaker and like maybe is college educated but doesn't exactly have a teaching credential, like will probably teach English better than some other random Vietnamese person.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But still.
And like sometimes
Go ahead.
I feel like in Japan they almost like there's a reason why the English teachers are on contract, you know? Like for JET you can only do up to 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I think someone said like after 5 years then you become almost like a semi like permanent employee.
Yeah.
Like they start to have to giving you like more perks and stuff. And then it's also kind of like job security for the Japanese English teachers, because if you have all these foreign English teachers coming over and then they stay forever and they teach better than the Japanese English teachers, then it's kind of like pushing them out of a job.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's interesting. Like a lot of things that affect the English teaching like market aren't exactly like related to education. You know, it's like business and like politics.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean like that's like when people come here like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to be a teacher." I'm like, "Yes and no." You know, it's like each country, like each government, each like, you know, company has their goals, and depending on your situation those might align with yours or not, you know.
Are you over teaching yet?
Oh, am I over it? I mean, it's something I can do, but then even in my situation, like we're assistants, and so like when I go to my school I teach like every kid at the school, and most of the decisions are made by the main teacher. So, like, I couldn't really, like, run my own program, you know? Like, anything I do will be in step with them. Like, I think I did some math, and maybe I go to, like, 10% of the classes they have, you know?
Okay.
So, it's like if I come in 1 out of every 10 classes you have, and I try to, like, run something that the teacher's not running when I'm not there, like, it just won't stick,
Correct.
You know? So, like, it's not even worth trying. Like, I don't know, man. Like, teaching is cool to me, but I think I'd want to try something else if I could, you know.
Okay, when did you have that feeling where it's like, I'm kind of over this? Obviously, you had a contract to finish, but like, was there kind of a moment where it's like, you know what, I'm kind of tired of this shit, but I just got to finish it through?
You know, I think for me, like, it probably actually came on a little quick, man, like in my first year.
Yeah.
But it's also because we work with a gang of different teachers, like a gang of different students, you know.
Yeah.
And like some of the teachers are quite good. Some leave more to be desired, you know. And then especially like I think it's just seeing how the education system is run in Japan, where things are like really geared towards tests and like just rote memorization and translating, like not really learning the language for communication and like learning new things, you know. Because like I remember I'd go to like some of the classes and one of my teachers was like, "David," I was like, "Yes." It's like, "I want you to make an activity for this lesson. The focus is how much, like shopping." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So then, like, you know, I just took like that TEFL certification class. I was like, "I'm going to use authentic materials." This is like, you know, for 7th grade Japanese students. I'm like, all right, maybe like English is hard for them. I'm going to get a super simple menu. Let's do in and out. Like, you know, like in and out is as easy as it gets, you know. There's like 5 things, you know. And then I was like, okay, I also want to try to do this Kinokawa one, which is like that restaurant in Long Beach, Japanese restaurant.
Yeah.
So it's just Japanese stuff written in English. And I'm like, I can like ask them how much something is. They can look it up and tell me no problem, right? And then I bring it to the teacher. I'm like, this is what I want to do. He's like, no, this is way too difficult. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, they won't be able to read any of this. I'm like, huh? And then like he's just like, yeah, and they don't like to say like the cents at the end of stuff, like $6.99. Like they just want to say like $6, $7. I'm just like, wow, this is how you're teaching it, huh? No wonder nobody speaks this out here.
Yeah.
Like, So it was just kind of like experiences like that where you're like, hey, I can actually like teach you how to speak English. Like I'm in your country speaking your language, and this is how I learned it. And they're just like, yeah, no, we don't want that.
Yeah, I feel it.
But
yeah, what got me kind of over teaching pretty fast. Yeah, it was also within the first year, probably the first like 5 months, because when I taught at 2 schools. One school's was like, it was very small, which means like I taught like Monday and Wednesday morning, so I at least saw like the same 8 people week in, week out, which made it easier because I began to know them. I got to know who had what strength, who had what weaknesses, and I could kind of figure it out. What was the best game plan to like really help them improve, But then the other school was like, I was thrown around in a new classroom every single day, And then it's hard. It's like if you can't see the progression of what you're doing with people, it doesn't feel as nice, Because the first school I was doing, I saw these people, so I kind of saw their improvement because I gave them extra time. But at the other school, when I was just like being thrown around, it's like, hey, here's a foreigner, check it out, And then it's just like, stick a toll where it's like I hate being just thrown around. It's like I want to teach. I don't want to just be thrown around. It's like, there's a gimmicky foreigner at this school, so like, start bragging to their parents that, oh, our teacher was a foreigner, so.
Yeah, and like I think at that point it's like just checking a box,
Yeah, it really was.
It's like we had English from somebody who wasn't Vietnamese. All right.
Yeah.
It's done.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And then like, yeah, that kind of reminds me of some people that are working out here, right? So before in my organization, we used to teach elementary school, and then it got contracted out to like a dispatch company. Mm-hmm. And so now they have a dispatch company to teach at all of the elementary schools out here. And they have 4 teachers. And I think they cover, oh man, there's like 40 something schools. I think each one of them has like 12 schools each,
Jeez.
Yeah, and so like I asked one of them, I was like, man, like how many students like do you teach? And they're like, I did the math, I teach like 6,500 students. Like in 1 year, in all 12 schools. Yeah, and then like I was talking with them too, and they're just like, yeah, they can't remember any of the kids' names. Like they can barely remember the teachers' names.
Yeah.
I was like, that's true.
Exactly. Like I remember I took at least like the first 3 weeks at the second school that was like eventually that threw me around. At least had the same faces. I really began to learn the kids' names. And once I started throwing around like every day after that, then I was just like, man, F this. Just didn't make it worth it anymore. And then I just got, okay, cool, just gonna show up, be busy for an hour and a half and collect my paycheck. Oh no, the other thing that also kind of like threw me off of like teaching was the adults. So I was teaching a lot of like college kids, and they just did not want to put in the effort. They just like, expected that we had some kind of magic pill that they were just like, oh, okay, you're a foreigner. Like, what's the secret? Like, what secret? Put in the work. You look like an idiot. Like, I'm not gonna have some like this algorithm for you to like know English overnight. You just gotta keep practicing and then know your limits. Like just keep going and stuff like that. And when they didn't want to like push themselves, like no, I don't want to do that right now. No, I don't want to do that. It's like, no, what? Screw it. I encountered too many of that.
Yeah.
So eventually that was like I think that's like my tipping point because I put in a lot of extra work to make like the class more engaging, like Jeopardy games and switch it up. Like I did hours upon hours of like doing PowerPoints and stuff. And once all of that went to like on deaf ears because it was too different, and then they didn't want a textbook. And then when I didn't teach them the textbook, they want to run back to the textbook. I was like, man, screw this.
Yeah, dude. I think like there's kind of like that perception too, right? That somehow the class from the foreigner is better than the class from another person.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah, but
Which sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't, man. It depends on the foreigner.
correct. Correct.
You know? Yeah, but I don't know, man. Just one thing I've noticed from me being out here is like everybody shows up and they're like, my English is correct. And if it's not my way, then it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But then like the more you actually study like different types of English and you look at different materials, it's like even within the United States, man, there's like a bunch of different ways to pronounce things, like different slang, vocabulary, kind of like grammar. And then like once you start getting out to like England, Australia, like South Africa, it's like fucking forget about it, you know?
That's like
So like, yeah, well, like when my teacher's like, is this right? Like I don't ask myself, is it right? Is it the way I'd say it? I ask myself, is it wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if it's not wrong, then it's right, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. Because I tell people when they try to learn, it's like, as long as the other person can understand you, even though it's like not 100% clear or sounds like me, like it doesn't really matter. As long as the message gets a point across, you can explain yourself. If you said this word, like you didn't pronunciate it right, and you can find that back door to explain the meaning, then dude, that's all that matters. You don't have to try to sound perfect. But some people, that's what they're striving for, and anything less, they don't want to use their English because they want to look stupid.
Yeah, that happens a lot out in Japan
A lot
too.
in Asia, bro. That's Asia.
Yeah, for real, dude. Yeah, we're getting towards the end of it here, man.
Yep.
I think that's probably a good place to leave it, huh?
Yeah, I guess so, buddy.
Alright, for sure, man. That does it for another fresh episode of Dudes in Asia. Teaching English can be a great foot in the door to exploring a new continent and culture. Just make sure you check out your options before you commit, and it always helps to do your research.
Yeah, buddy, I do agree with that. I mean, that's how I got my foot in the door here. Came out teaching, next thing you know, I work at Mingle. So, I mean, it worked out beautifully. And I'd recommend people do the same things. Get out of your comfort zone, go somewhere new, learn something new, and just see what else presents itself to you. Anyways, this is Hot Sauce Noogie signing out. Be sure to check out our non-updated blog at dudesandasia.blogspot.com or hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/dudesandasia.
And if you want to follow me on Twitter, search for @DavidHater. That's @DavidHar. Peace out.
Peace out, everyone.